Welcome back, friends, to Orchos Tzadikim. We are on day 69. We are in the Shar Simcha, and he is sharing some other aspects of how to get Simcha, and he continues. Similarly, when one undergoes any affliction, challenges in life, he should also rejoice. As our Chachamim have said, beloved are afflictions. That's the quote. And they have said further, all who rejoice in afflictions bring salvation to the world. And one should accustom his mouth to say, Gam zu l'tova, this too is for the good. And kol man davar Rachman l'tav, and all that the Rahmana, the merciful one, does is for the good. For there are many evils that culminate in good. And thus did our rabbis expound this pasuk. It says, I thank you, Hashem, for having been angry with me. Your anger turned away, and you consoled me. This is analogous to the case of two men who were about to embark upon a voyage. A thorn embedded itself in the leg of the first, and he couldn't go. The second did go, and the first one cursed his bad luck. I couldn't go on that trip. After some time, the first man heard that the boat had sunk, and all aboard had been killed. At this, he began to praise the Blessed One, seeing that the purpose of his mishap had been to keep him alive. Therefore, one should rejoice in afflictions and in any other losses that he suffers, for he does not know what good is intended him through them. And this was the attitude of Nachum Ish Gamzu in the Gemara in Tainus. So what he's saying here is everything that happens is for the best. One time I was asked to come off of an airplane with my wife and daughter, and we were the first people on the plane, and we were bumped from the plane. I said, why are we being bumped? And I started to get angry. And my wife said, don't get angry. You could make a chil Hashem. And I said, calm myself down. I said, she said, we overbooked. We need these tickets. I said, well, why don't you take from somebody else in the back? That didn't come on the plane yet. We were the first people boarded. They said, we need these seats. All right. In the end, it's a very long story, but I had to go out to the ticket gate counter and get new tickets. And there I saw that I had left a suitcase at the entrance of the airport, which was a brand new suitcase with my suits and my wife's dresses. And there was no markings, no names. We would have never known whatever happened to that suitcase. The Almighty said, I bumped you from that flight. In the end, we got on the next flight, but just a half hour later, they compensated us with $600, $300 for my wife, $300 for myself, and they paid for the cab fare to get home from the airport because they bumped us. So in the end, all of these incredible things came to us because this terrible thing happened that I was bumped from a flight. And now I was blessed to see in a very short time how this mishap had turned out for our good. Sometimes it doesn't come in a half hour. Sometimes it takes a day. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes a month. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes a lifetime. And sometimes it never comes. But if a person trusts in the Almighty, he or she knows that everything that happens for them is for their good. So now I ask you, as a exercise, has anything ever happened to you that in life you thought was really bad, but in the end you look back and say, oh my gosh, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me? Can you see something like that happened to you? Perhaps you broke your arm once and you met the nurse in the hospital and she ended up being your wife, right? Of course, I just made that up, but that's the analogy. Can you see something that happened to you in life like that? And if you can, then perhaps you can see that all things fit into that equation. Everything the Almighty does for us is for the good. Something to think about. Have a great day.